We're going to continue by queering up the USA View. Buttigieg slams Florida Republican on parental leave as homophobic. In a bipartisan effort, Florida Republican U.S. Representative Paulina Luna and California Democratic Representative Sara Jacobs are pushing for enhanced recognition of parental support in Congress. Luna, who faced challenges voting after giving birth, co-sponsored legislation with Jacobs to grant women lawmakers the option of voting by proxy following childbirth. This proposed bill aims to reinstate a practice that was allowed under Speaker Pelosi during the COVID era, but was then discontinued under former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Luna, frustrated by the contrast between her situation and U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg's paternal leave, emphasized the need for Congress to adapt to modern times. In response, Chasten Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg's husband, advocated for parental leave for all. He expressed disappointment in Representative Luna's comments, perceiving them as unnecessarily homophobic and undermining the bipartisan push for parental leave. Buttigieg urged Congresswoman Luna to embrace a more progressive stance, saying, quote, "Getting with the times would serve you well, Congresswoman," end quote. In an interview with The Advocate, Buttigieg reiterated his strong support for parental leave, praising the bipartisan collaboration in recognizing the importance of equitable parental leave for all parents, regardless of their circumstances. Luna's bill proposes a six-week post-childbirth proxy voting option specifically for women who have given birth. This has prompted discussions among some Democrats about potential expansions to the bill to include other types of new parents, including queer parents. So this is interesting. This is us like splitting hairs when we should really be coming together. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that I think maybe the Buttigieg's overreacted a little bit to this.
Well, before we say they overreacted, I'd like to read the comment that we did. Yeah. We didn't put in here the comment that Congresswoman Luna said. She on X, she said, quote, "Pete Buttigieg got maternity leave and I didn't."
That's
okay. And he's a dude. It's time Congress gets with the times. Well, I mean, I agree with her second half of that statement. It is time that Congress gets with the times. And parental leave, you homophobic bitch, is what we're asking for. That comment, it's like, I'm going to do something good, but then I'm just going to poop all over it. And that's what she's doing.
I'm going to fall back here and say something different, though. I'm going to say this is probably a way of looking at it that suggests that men still get preferential treatment to women, even in the parental rights debate that's happening in this conversation. So, again, we're splitting hairs. Maybe she could have worded it better. I don't care. But her point, I think, still stands. And I don't think that we should be splitting hairs over this. We really should be coming together and putting our way forward. But she is, I think, correct in saying that there is a disparity between the way that men and women are treated, even in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think the other issue here is this whole voting by proxy opens up a big door for Congress. And that door is that if you are mentally incapacitated and can't make it to Congress to vote, are they going to now then try to, which a lot of people need to retire. I mean, there's a lot of nuances where they have to have a better policy in general in Congress. I think like piecemealing all of these HR policies into little bills. I think there's a lot of struggles in Congress. I mean, we just went through it with having people dying in office. Doesn't help the democratic process either. So I agree people should be able to vote if they just had a child. I believe they should be able to vote if they adopted a child. Whether they're a man or a woman or both combined, they should be able to have family leave.
Yeah, and I think we should be expanding this more.
Yes.
Like if you're sick, not mentally incapacitated, but like if you're sick and you're in a hospital or you're on mandatory bed rest at home, you should also be able to designate your proxy on the floor of Congress. That worked during COVID. There were no issues. There, we weren't having 468 votes on an issue when there's only 435. There was no false voting. This was a policy that worked. I don't know why they don't want to expand voting for everyone, including their own members.
You know,
yeah.
Easy.
And
why go back to something that worked?
Right.
And I think the homophobia was obviously because, I mean, Buttigieg did get a lot of homophobia and attacks for their taking parental leave from the right wing for many things. So her dredging it up again is just another attack that was already on the book.
Well, that's what I can understand. Like, you know, when you've been attacked over and over again, you're hypersensitive.
Absolutely.
And so the minute someone goes there, you're like, wait a minute. Like, you know, is this homophobia or transphobia? And it may not necessarily be, to your point, you know, but the way she worded it, it came off that way, you know, and she may have not meant it that way. But anyone that's against it, I hope they're not pro-life.
I disagree.
Because if you're pro-life, honey, you better be hearing about the children that are born. You know, these pro-lifers, they're so worried about the fetus. Once the baby's born, oh, to hell with them. You know,
go to work and vote.
Like, forget the family support. You know, the government services. They don't want that. Just have the baby, and then you know, to hell with the baby.
Before we move on, I just want to say I disagree with you. I believe that you did.
Disagree with
I
me.
do. I
How
believe.
dare you?
I believe that Congresswoman Luna, because it's a tactic of the GOP to subtly feminize gay men.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's a queer.
You know, so for him to say, for Congresswoman, the Republican Congresswoman to say, maternity leave and not parental leave, not paternity leave. I think it was very intentioned. So she's trying to do something for women, but not for everyone. I have no doubt that she is ultimately homophobic. And while she may be trying to do something good, this is ultimately still a slap in her face.
Yeah, no, to your point, I didn't say she was or she wasn't. I was just, you know, piggybacking on what he said, perhaps. But yeah, people can be very, very conniving and, you know, shady.
Red meat for their face.
Yeah, they say things in a way like, what are you talking about? I didn't mean anything by that, but they did. You know, the way they do it in cunning ways. You know,
like
so I can see your point.
You can't hear my tone. I just put it as a status. You know?
Exactly.